Boom! We are live, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to the Nolan Hawkeye Anthony YouTube channel. I thank all of you for being here, wherever you may be, and of course, however you may be listening. The football season is officially done. Of course, I will have you guys covered every step of the way this offseason, transfer portal, off-season stories, coaching change, especially offensive coordinator. I'm definitely paying attention to that, as are we all. I still think that the most likely candidate, Mr. Philbin, Joe Philbin. The top two candidates in my eyes are Paul Chryst, who obviously Kirk Ferentz has a ton of respect for. Definitely had a lot of great matchups, great games against each other, one another. But, my issue with Paul Chryst is the reason why ultimately he got fired from Wisconsin was because the offense kind of spurned out and his offensive philosophy was starting to get bogged down and left behind, so to speak. So they upgraded. Well, they think they upgraded and they went to a more modern mindset, a younger head coach and Luke Fickell. So I'll have you guys covered every step of the way with that. I don't want to get too much into that because that's not what this video is. But just know your boy definitely will have you every step of the way. Today, now that football is done, I'm turning my attention completely to Iowa Hawkeye basketball. We'll see if I will do some coverage on the women's side of things. I always do get people who comment asking me if I could provide some analysis and coverage of the women's team. The thing is, though, guys, ultimately, there's only so much time that I can denote to this or designate to this at the current moment. And so it's not as easy as you might think to just say, "Yep, I'm going to do that. I'm going to pick that up and, we'll be rolling." The other thing is, and I totally understand if maybe you guys haven't thought about this, but when you do something like this, one of the biggest things that you have to battle and kind of be mindful of is losing your passion. I don't want this to ever turn into a job like kind of, oh, got to go to work today type thing. I don't want it to become that. I enjoy talking about this. I want to continue to enjoy discussing these things and communicating with you guys and providing you guys with coverage and analysis. That's where I want it to stay. As of now, I'm not saying that can't change in the future. And, ultimately, I do understand that there is a point where if you want to reach a certain level, you are going to have to denote a job-like amount of time to said enterprise. But with that being said, Iowa men's basketball. By the way, guys, if you're not subscribed, smash that subscribe button. At the very least, like, comment, share. Would very much love to get to 2,000 subscribers by the time this next football season rolls around. I also do think, just one more comment, I do think that I will be branching out during the offseason into more Big Ten coverage as a whole, especially now that the Big Ten has basically become a super conference. So that I just want you guys to be prepared for that. All right, let's turn our attention to Iowa basketball. By the way, guys, if you guys want to donate to the channel, check the description box, Cash App, PayPal. Links are in the description. You guys can also send a super chat or a super thanks through this video. So let me get this pulled up here. Iowa defeated Rutgers today, and this was a must win, an absolute must win. Iowa was staring down the barrel of a 0-4 Big Ten start. And the thing is that Fran McCaffrey, especially since the Big Ten rolled out this too early Big Ten game slate in the season. For example, you guys don't know what I'm talking about. Let me pull up Iowa's schedule here. Right here, where they played, let's see, Purdue and Michigan. When they played Purdue and Michigan in, a span of 6 days, that's what I'm referring to. Iowa has not done the best with that. They usually they I would say for the most part they either start 0 and 2 or 1 and 1. They rarely go 2 and 0. Now, part of that is because it's Purdue that has been the team that they play against in that early two-game conference matchup. So, but this was a must-win for Iowa. There is no getting around it. Rutgers came into this as a quad two team or opponent coming into this game. They were, I'll pull up KenPom here. You guys can see Iowa won 86-77. Iowa was ranked higher than Rutgers on the KenPom ranking system. Matter of fact, let's just go ahead and get that pulled up right now so I can show you guys where Rutgers was at coming into this game. So here's the KenPom, and I was going to pull this up regardless. I obviously predicted Iowa to make the NCAA tournament this year for the fifth straight time in, you know, 5 years. It would have already been 5 straight years had the Koof year not happened. But one thing that I have continuously said with regards to Iowa and fans not getting overly worried or overly concerned about Iowa's early struggles is that all of their losses have come to NCAA tournament teams as of today. Okay. Uh, Not just NCAA tournament teams, but top 25 teams. I mean, we're talking high seeded teams. Let's see here. Iowa lost to Purdue. They are second on KenPom. Iowa lost to Wisconsin recently. Man, would that have been nice had they been able to get that victory. Wisconsin is 13th, according to KenPom. They lost to Creighton, who is 15th. According to KenPom, they lost to Iowa State, who is 19th, according to KenPom. They lost to Oklahoma, who is 24th. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of their losses have come against KenPom top 25 rated teams. The other loss that they had was to Michigan, which, quite frankly, it wasn't a bad loss, but that would probably be their worst loss this year, especially since that game was at home. Iowa absolutely should have won that game. And that might end up being the game that decides whether Iowa makes the NCAA tournament or not this year. So let's see here. Iowa is 54th, 9-6. They have the 25th best offense in the country. Obviously, their offense has taken a slight step back this year, and they are ranked 125th in defensive efficiency. This is data includes 34 of 146 games played on Saturday, January 6th. So this will be more accurate, obviously, tomorrow. But, so my point is, guys, Iowa has lost to legitimate teams. Okay. It's not like they've had atrocious losses. Would it have been nice had they beaten one or two of these teams? Of course. And had they beaten one or two of those teams, they would be projected to be in the NCAA tournament right now. So here's Iowa. They lost to Michigan, who's 64th. Michigan is actually lower than Iowa on the KenPom. Michigan is 6-8 currently on this season. And then Rutgers here, let's see, Minnesota 81st. Rutgers is 87th after this loss. Their offense is rated 231st in the entire country. So Iowa had a great defensive performance tonight against Rutgers. Don't get overly hyped about it. Rutgers offense sucks. It's terrible. So I don't want you guys to get especially in recent years in the Fran McCaffrey era, it's been really easy to overreact and buy in to this new defensive identity for the Iowa Hawkeyes. And I've been victim to it. Okay. Don't have that happen this time. All right. Rutgers overall, even if it wasn't Rutgers and say it was a top 25 offensive efficiency team, you still should not overreact to it because Fran McCaffrey teams always come back down to earth when it comes to the defensive side of things. But it's especially true considering Rutgers is one of the worst offensive teams in the entire country. Let's go back to the actual game. Let's look at the stats for the game. Iowa won both halves for this game. Obviously the first half is what sealed this game. For Rutgers, it was really only Mowo Mag who went off against Iowa. He had 24 points and 10 boards. He actually played spectacularly. Yeah, really, really, really nice performance for him. Let's see here. Iowa, Ben Krieke chipped in 19 points. Owen Freeman, 15 points. Peyton Sandfort, 24 points. Peyton Sandfort, you guys just need to know this. It may change next year as he becomes a upper class or he's a senior next year. But Peyton Sandfort is what you call a streaky shooter. So he's not going to be a guy that has a consistent 18 points a game average. He's going to be a guy who averages 18 points a game because he's going to have games where he scores 28 and games where he scores 8. All right. That's where Peyton Sandfort is currently. And I've said this for the longest time that will continue to be the case until Peyton Sandfort can expand his game and find ways to score other than his jump shot, whether it be getting to the free throw line, whether it be being better off the ball and getting easy layups from the normal offensive motion that Iowa runs, whether it be from post ups, whether it be, off the dribble. I think the more likely case is post ups and getting to the free throw line, but he's not there yet. Okay. So for now, this is going to be the case for Peyton Sandfort, but it's still spectacular that Peyton Sandfort is a guy that can chip in 24 points against a Big Ten opponent. All right. So, and this is just classic Fran McCaffrey. Fran McCaffrey brings in a high 3-star recruit. He had some nice offers, Stanford, Minnesota, Wisconsin, I believe, but he was by no means a consensus 4-star player. He gets to Fran McCaffrey's system, and he's been fairly productive from the moment he stepped on campus. Tony Perkins, when I rewatched the game, the highlights make it seem like Tony Perkins had 30 points. He had an excellent game. He had multiple steals. He got after it on defense. That is his identity. Tony Perkins is at his best when he's getting stops on defense, he's getting steals on defense, and then on the off, he's turning it into offensive points on the other end. That is when Tony Perkins is at his best. Josh Dix came into the starting lineup for Iowa in place of PMAC, Patrick McCaffrey. I said on Facebook that I believe Iowa needs to take Patrick McCaffrey out of in the starting lineup, is that especially with how the current configuration is that there's too much, there's not enough speed, there's not enough playmaking on the court. So because when Patrick McCaffrey is in the starting lineup, it is essentially Tony Perkins, Peyton Sandfort at the 2. And I said before the year that Peyton Sandfort is not athletic enough to run the 2 for the Iowa Hawkeyes. He's just not. Okay. Maybe in some lineups, but not as a predominant line. Patrick McCaffrey at the 3, Ben Krieke at the 4, Owen Freeman at the 5. There's not enough playmaking on the court. So unless Patrick McCaffrey is knocking down 3-point shots, and or getting to the rim, which, let's be honest, he struggles with sometimes. His 3-point shot has been very streaky his entire career. So unless he's able to do either of those things, it really ends up clogging and making Iowa on the offensive end less flow. It doesn't, the offensive side does not flow as much with Patrick McCaffrey in there when he's not knocking down 3-point shots, when he's not getting to the rim, because all other teams have to do is either put a quicker lineup out there and really press up on the Iowa Hawkeyes, really make it difficult for them to pass it around and move the ball on offense, or they have a big guy like Zach Edey and it puts pressure that way. And if your big lineup, and I'm talking about the Iowa Hawkeyes, is not able to outperform the other team's big lineup, then it's totally pointless to be playing. That's just what it is. I think Patrick McCaffrey should come off the bench, and Iowa should have Josh Dix or Bowen or Harding in there as his replacement to give Iowa some more playmaking ability and quickness on the defensive side of the ball. Because again, because when Patrick McCaffrey is in there, you're basically saying we're okay having a bigger lineup, and our bigger lineup is going to give us an advantage, which is why we're going with said big lineup. We may not have the quickness, but overall, it's going to be better for us with the size difference. So when Iowa, as I said, plays a team like Zach Edey and they still get dominated and the other team is doing big ball better than they are, it totally wipes out whatever advantage they thought they had. Conversely, when Patrick McCaffrey is in there, it gives you less speed on the defensive side of things. And if the size increase is not making a big difference as far as making shots more difficult, making it harder for the other team to score above you, if it's not making that much of an impact, it's just, and then on the other side of the thing, if you're not knocking, it's a mistake, honestly. Okay, Patrick McCaffrey should not be in the starting lineup, especially if Iowa is going to go with Peyton Sandfort. And I said that before the year. Peyton Sandfort needs to be the 3. If Patrick McCaffrey was able to get to the rim and was more consistent this year in knocking down his 3-point shot, then I would be open to considering it. But that is yet to be the case. As you guys have seen, when Iowa plays teams that are bigger, that have just as much athleticism as Iowa, they struggle. Why? Because it basically flatlines the size difference that lineup has. It basically wipes out the advantage. It's a moot, zero sum gain there. All right. So I am completely not in favor of Patrick McCaffrey being in the starting lineup. Here are some of my recent posts. Owen Freeman was oh shoot. Got to edit this. Tremendous. Owen Freeman was a tremendous find for Fran McCaffrey. I said in my recruiting profile video, he was under recruited despite having offers from a few other Big Ten programs. This class as a whole has been strong. And then this is the big one that I wanted to share. Iowa defeats Rutgers 86-77. Dix was in the starting lineup. I said last week I thought PMAC should be taken out of the starting lineup. I wanted it to be Bowen, but Dix is come on. But Dix, I wanted it to be Bowen, but Dix is solid as well and stands 6'5", and is a solid defender. PMAC was out and was ill. This was a good quad two win for the Hawks. Times Union. Iowa starter Patrick McCaffrey was ill and missed the game, where his dad surpassed former coach Tom Davis for the most Big Ten wins at the school with 127. Fran McCaffrey is too shy of passing Davis. Overall win total of 271. All right, guys, let's go back. I just want the last thing is to look at net resume, NCAA basketball. So I hope what I'm saying about Patrick McCaffrey makes sense. It just really comes down to it doesn't give Iowa enough of an advantage, especially against Power Five type teams, when Patrick McCaffrey is not doing what he needs to do in order for it to be an advantage. And specifically for Iowa, that requires a free flowing offense that the success of it comes from and stems from the confidence Fran McCaffrey instills in his players to make the right plays, to knock down shots, to shoot shots with confidence. You can't have a guy that clogs the lane due to not making shots. You just can't have it. Wow, Iowa State is really up there in the net rankings. Dang, ninth. Let's see where Iowa's at. This is the first time that I've looked at the net rankings. Iowa is 69th, but of course this one wasn't updated. So let's see where Rutgers is at. They are 91st. So this will what time is it? It's 8 o'clock. What time is it? I don't know if you guys have ever seen The Sopranos, but that's a good old school song that's from that show. 69th, actually not bad. I mean, Iowa definitely has a shot to move up quite a bit. Dang, they were 23rd. Man, they have dropped a lot. 69th. So here's their net 69th, KenPom 54th, BPI 49, KPI 110, T rank 67. Maybe RPI is not a thing anymore. Strength of record 98th. RPI strength of schedule 57, net strength of schedule 22nd. See, that's the good news for Iowa is that of late, Fran McCaffrey has realized that the name of the game is to have as many opportunities on your schedule within reason to get good quality victories. Of course, you can't schedule every single game to be a tough game because ultimately you need to put wins on your record, but so stats for games through January 5th. They have the 11th best scoring offense and the 309th best scoring defense. But what is more of a valid stat is defensive efficiency because in basketball, uh, uh, game pace is as important as anything. And it really does dictate that stat. That stat can be slightly misleading because of that. Football, it's not as, obviously football has the same thing, but it's not as influential on the stats as it is in basketball. Basketball, you can have a team that literally uses up the entirety of the clock and plays a tremendously slow pace versus a team like Iowa that gets up and down, up and down, no matter what. So Iowa is 0-5 in quad one. and they have 5 more quad one games remaining. Be nice if they could get at least 2 quad 1 victories. They're 1-1 in quad three and 1-0 in quad two. I forgot about their Seton Hall victory. That is probably their quad two victory. Yep. Yep, it's Seton Hall. So that actually ended up being a good victory for Iowa, was that Seton Hall victory. I think the game that was probably the most winnable would have been the Oklahoma game, but what are you going to do? And then Michigan ended up being a quad three loss because it was at home. Iowa lost at home. And then Rutgers was a quad three victory. So I thought it was a quad two victory, but it's quad three. All right, guys, that's pretty much it. We looked at the stats. Iowa has a big game against Nebraska coming up. This will be a quad two victory at home. Iowa, this is a must win. These next 2 games for Iowa are must wins. Nebraska and Minnesota. If they can win these next two, they will be in much better shape, and all things being equal, that they will be in a good spot to make the NCAA tournament. These next 2 games are that important. They can go from being squarely out of the NCAA tournament to being squarely in the conversation for an NCAA tournament with those two victories. So, all right, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. Like, comment, share, subscribe. You guys know the drill. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll have you guys covered continuously regarding this Iowa men's basketball team. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. And last but not least, DBAP, don't be a pussy with all facts or feelings, because your feelings just don't matter. Love you guys. See you guys next time. Go Hawks. Bye-bye.